Live from the bridge at the Launchpad Studios in Huntington, New York, it's Sports Talk New York with your hosts, Mark Rosenman and AJ Carter. Sports Talk New York is sponsored in part by Cardboard Memories, Clearview, Long Island, the law firm of Decolator, Cohen, and DePrisco, the Phoenix Tube Company, PIMS Incorporated, fueling brand performance for 30 years, Prince Associates for all your insurance needs, and Soho Table Hockey. Here are your hosts, Mark and AJ.
Nope, not Mark and AJ. Starting off this year, our one-year anniversary of the 365 Sportscast Network. Also, probably about year 17 or 18 of Sports Talk New York. Brett Topel and I are doing, for me, maybe the most amazing crossover episode since March 1st, 1967, when the Green Hornet and Kato appeared on Batman, one of my favorite Batman episodes ever. Welcome, Brett. Thanks for doing the first hour with me, and then I'm going to do the second hour with you.
Oh, absolutely. It's my pleasure. And I guess the question is, am I the Green Hornet or Kato?
Whichever one you want to be.
Well, let's see how the hour goes, and we'll figure that. No, it's a pleasure to be here. It's been so exciting to have a year under our belt here at the 365 Sportscast. A brainchild of yourself. You should be very proud of the network we've got here.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to where it's going to go over this next year. Some really exciting news, which we'll share with you over the course of the next couple of weeks. Lots of good shows joining us, and we will have a really great set of programming by year end, looking to really grow this year. So, we figured we'd do this crossover. We were the first two shows as the flagship shows of this network. It was Brett and I. We both kicked off back on January 5th. It was a Sunday night, the day before a fairly famous date in history.
Yes.
But so it was about a year ago. So, and what we wanted to do is this first 5 minutes of our show. AJ is not here. He's down in Florida. We wanted to talk about some of the highlights of this year for us. And for me, it goes through, I think the number one highlight was a tremendous shout out that Michael Kay gave us for an interview we did with him. He gave us a shout out on what I consider maybe the gold standard of shows, and the Michael Kay show. And he really liked the interview we did with him. Having Anthony Scaramucci on was great. Having David Wright on was fantastic. David Quinn, so many really good guests this year. It's been a pretty cool year also for me individually, being able to be on the NHL Network to promote one of my books. It's been a good year. So we're looking forward to great stuff. And, in the coming hour at 7 o'clock, we're going to hear from Brett what his top moments of his show were. And I really appreciate you sitting in. And, basically, what we do, we've done it for about a year. We start our show off with the Major League Baseball report, and it's with John Carpenter. It's sponsored by our friends over at Cardboard Memories. That's another great moment of the year, too.
It was. You and me and Eric Sherman and AJ got to go to Cardboard Memories a couple of weeks ago, talk about a bunch of different books we wrote. It was really a lot of fun. Got a nice crowd out in Comac, and looking forward to doing that again soon. Back in Cardboard Memories and other locations throughout Long Island.
Absolutely, and we do plan on being out and about. Hopefully, when the virus dies down a little bit, we can get back to meeting you guys all in person rather than either over the 365 Sportscast app, the iPhone app, the Android app, or on Facebook Live. But like I said, the baseball report sponsored by Cardboard Memories, which is one of Long Island's most reputable memorabilia retail stores for over 29 years. The owner of Cardboard Memories, Scott Stamell, is known for his knowledge and savvy of authentic autographs, and he's been featured on HBO Real Sports with Brian Gumbel. Cardboard Memories possesses the honesty and integrity one would want and need from a memorabilia source. Cardboard Memories is also always buying collections large and small. Let Cardboard Memories run your next charity fundraising auction as well. Call them to find out how they can help your organization at absolutely no cost. Cardboard Memories is located at 6401 Jericho Turnpike, Comac, New York. Visit them on the web at cardboardmemories.com. Follow them on Facebook or Instagram. And another highlight for me is each and every week, this past year I got to welcome in John Carpenter. So, John, what we wanted to do this week, as opposed to just talking about, current news, it's been a crazy year for New York baseball, Mets and Yankees. So why don't you give us what you felt are the top two stories, one Met, one Yankee, for the calendar year 2021?
Well, first off, I want to wish you guys a happy anniversary, and also want to ask that if you guys are the Green Hornet and Kato, can I be the Lone Ranger?
Yeah, and I guess that makes AJ Tonto when he's here.
Yes, he'll be Tonto for sure. Well, I was thinking about it, and the Mets. The story of the year for the Mets is an easy one for me. It's the signing of Max Scherzer, and there have been a lot of ups and downs with the Mets, and a lot of offseason news. Probably a more interesting offseason team than a in-season team in 2021. They made the trade for Lindor. They hired Buck Showalter, and they signed a bunch of really good players, Escobar and Starling Marte and Mark Canha. But the Max Scherzer signing to me goes above and beyond them all, because that's the signing that the previous ownership regime would have never made. They might have made the Escobar signings and the Marte signing and the Canha signing, or two of the three, and probably would have called it a day. And in past years, we all would have been clamoring for a guy like Scherzer, and it never would have happened ever. But this regime understood, and let's give Steven Matz's agent a hand in all of this, because I feel like he put this all into motion by hacking off Cohen and going him and sending him into Hulk rage mode and making these signings. But the Scherzer signing again, I think that was by far and away the story of the year. The Yankees, you could probably go in a few different directions, but for me, the story of the year is the ups and downs of Garrett Cole. He had signed that big contract, and then they had the whole the controversy with the sticky stuff, and his game kind of fell off a little bit. But then he comes out with that one hit complete game against Houston, and you think, all right, there's the Garrett Cole that the Yankees signed. There's the Garrett Cole that they signed to a 9-year deal. And then the playoffs come, and he's got that stage. This is the game that they signed him for, and he comes up small. So I guess the story for me, for the Yankees, is what is Garrett Cole going to give you? What is he going to provide? Is he going to be the Garrett Cole that they signed from Houston, or is he going to be a decent pitcher, a good pitcher, but not reach those heights, whether it be because of the sticky stuff or the absence of it, or what have you? So that's the story of the Yankees.
For me, the stories are the Mets, the fact that you're able to add Scherzer, Lindor, and Buck Showalter all within the same calendar year is absolutely huge. The story for me for the Yankees is more so that, Aaron Boone's back. I kind of find that shocking. I'm surprised at that. If the first name of the Steinbrenner currently in office was George, there's no way Aaron Boone would be back. So that, for me, is the story on the Yankee end. Brett, what about you?
Well, if the Steinbrenner, who was still alive, if George was still alive, I mean, between the Lindor, forget about it, back in early on, the Scherzer, the Buck, the Yankees would have 7 other players at this point.
And 5 other GMs.
And 5 other GMs. And obviously a new manager. I think that the fact that the Mets can, and John, you and I were talking about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago, the fact that they can acquire a stud center fielder and leadoff hitter like Starling Marte, and oh, by the way, he's just an afterthought because they got, one of the best pitchers in baseball to go to pair with one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher in baseball when he's healthy, DeGrom. And they have a manager that everybody's excited about. I mean, these moves the Mets made, there's no losing for them. If they don't work out, no Met fan can say, I told you I didn't want Buck, or I told you. I mean, sure, these guys should work out, fingers crossed. The Yankees, I think the Yankees have to prove that they're still the Yankees. I think the biggest moment I have from them from the past year was they just didn't seem like this, revered, dominant franchise that was going to get through it, regardless of what happened. And I think it remains to be seen what they're going to do this offseason.
It's interesting. When you said that, to go with the best pitcher in baseball, we didn't even talk about the historic start that Jacob deGrom had last season.
Crazy.
That just shows you that with everything that the Mets have done, we don't even talk about that. But hopefully he'll be healthy, and we'll get to talk about a tremendous season coming up, John. And we look forward to having you on to really chronicle what should be a unbelievable Met season and Yankee season as well.
You hope there's a season. For sure.
I think there will be. I think from what I'm hearing, the top major issues are already resolved. So I think, there's been a little bit of silence, but I'm pretty sure, I have a feeling you might start spring training a week late, but I don't think you're going to have much delay.
Yeah, that sounds like great news. I'd love to see it that way. I've heard that maybe all of spring training will be wiped out, but that there will be a season. So however it gets done, it gets done.
You got it. John Coppinger heard here each and every week.
Thank you, John.
With a Cardboard Memories Major League Baseball report.
Stepped right on you. It's the chair. It's the chair.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, obviously sad news this week. We lost a legend in John Madden. So the best guy that I felt, to talk about him was Phil Villapiano, one of my favorite players growing up. So right after this message, we'll be back with Phil Villapiano. So keep it tuned right here.
Do you own a business? When is the last time you actually had a visit from or even spoke with your insurance representative? Did your current insurance agency sell to another firm or maybe merge, leaving you without the attention you deserve? Prince Associates is a provider of commercial insurance nationwide and represents some of the finest insurance carriers in the industry. Prince Associates has been representing commercial clients since 1965, and we continue to grow and offer our personal services in a competitive and ever-changing market. If you want back the insurance relationship you deserve, reach out to us, 516-822-6550. That's area code 516-822-6550. And ask for Leith or Craig, or find us on the web at www.princeins.com.
Joining us now is the man who played his high school football in the Garden State at both Asbury Park High School and Ocean Township High School in New Jersey. He played college football at Bowling Green State University, where he was selected as a Mid-American Conference Player of the Year. He was a second-round draft pick, 45th overall in the 1971 draft by the Oakland Raiders. He is a four-time Pro Bowler, as well as a Super Bowl champion. He was one of, and still is, one of the fastest linebackers ever to have played the game, and he was known for making big plays, none bigger than his momentum-changing goal line tackle against the Minnesota Vikings in the Super Bowl 11, where he forced the fumble that was recovered by Willie Hall. It is a thrill to welcome Tom Hanks' favorite football player, number 41 in your program, Phil Villapiano, to Sports Talk New York. Welcome, Phil, and thanks for coming on with us tonight. We wanted to pay tribute to the late, great John Madden, who passed away this week at the age of 85. You played your first 8 years in the league under John. Before we talk about John, let's talk a little bit about your career, okay?
Okay.
So your mom may have actually had the biggest impact on you becoming a pro football player, as she planted the seed pretty early on that football could actually be your job one day. Can you tell our audience a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's really good. You did your homework. It's fun and it's so true. And I was one of those kids, and we grew up in Asbury Park, and all we did was play sports. Baseball, football, basketball all year long. Went swimming in the summertime, because we lived right on the ocean. Everything was wonderful. But what I loved to do the most was play football, and I just loved the hitting part of it. And I remember going to grammar school, and we had guys from different parts of Asbury Park. We also had these sending districts, and we were going to have a game one day with this little town called Interlaken, which was a big sending district. So the guys from the 3rd Avenue and 4th Avenue and 2nd Avenue, our little Bradley School guys, were going to play the boys from Interlaken. And my mother, when I was going to go to school that morning, she says, "I'm picking you up at 4:00 today," because we went right from the school to the football field. And I said, "Mom, you can't do that. We're playing Interlaken today, and I can't leave." And she says, "When I honk the horn, you better leave." So I go down to the football field. My mother shows up right on time at 4:00. I only got about a half hour of the game in, and I got in the car because she had a strong left hand. She would have come on the field and knocked me out if I didn't move. So I get in the car, and I'm pouting, and she looks over at me and she says, "You love that game, don't you?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And she said, "Did you know you could do that when you grow up?" And I said, "What? No, what?" And she said, "You know those guys you see on television, they get paid for that. That's their job." I mean, I was at the age of 5th grade or something. I never put it together. And after my mother said that, my whole life seemed to change. All I wanted to do was be a football player. And I remember in the Boy Scouts, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" "I want to be a football player." "Well, graduate 8th grade. What do you want to be when you grow up?" "I want to be a football player." graduate high school. What do you want to be? I want to be a football player. I only wanted to be a football player my whole life. And I think, and when I get to talk to school kids and stuff, I say, man, I'm just a skinny little kid from Asbury Park, but you want to know how I got to the NFL? And you want to know how I got so good at the NFL? I thought about it every day. I thought about it. And guess what? If you think about it and you think about it, I think your dreams can come true. And it happened for me. And I live my whole life like that. I just think about things and I want things bad and I work hard for them and bingo, they happen. So I became a football player, and let alone a football player, I became an Oakland Raider, which was totally incredible. I got to, play for Coach Madden, and everybody's been calling and talking about Coach, and I just love to talk about the guy. What a beautiful influence he was on me, and in my pro football career and my career in sales when I got done. Just a great guy, great mentor, great friend, and we're going to miss him dearly.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because so many of the things you were able to will, and we'll talk about some of them, come to fruition because of your strong will. You lead Asbury Park to a state title. You're a standout college player. You're invited to the Senior Bowl, which gets you one step closer to that dream. Playing in that Senior Bowl, early on in that game, you take an elbow to your eye, and basically, your eye is completely shut. Can you tell our audience what happens next?
That was crazy. It actually happened on the opening kickoff. And then, I'm sure everybody remembers the old face mask. I wore a face mask I think a quarterback would probably wear nowadays. And I was playing linebacker, so I was covering the first kick of the game. Linebackers always get the nastiest jobs. I'm playing the L1, which is right next to the football. The guy kicks off, and I'm supposed to go down and break the wedge, and I slam right into this monster, and his elbow goes right in my eye, and I stayed on the field. I went, whoa, and then I came off, and Coach McPherson, I think you remember Dick McPherson. He coached with Lou Saban, and then he went on to Maryland. I think it was Lou in Maryland, and then he came back and coached at Syracuse and Navy, and Coach McPherson was everywhere. He was our linebacker coach. And I come off the field and my eyes totally shut. And he looks at me and he goes, "Hey, Phil, how are you?" I said, "I'm good, Coach." He goes, we have no backups. I said, "Don't worry about me, Coach. I'm ready to play." So I made a whole bunch of tackles that they even only have one eye. And I'll never forget, after the game, I'm walking into the locker room, and this guy in a white leisure suit with this big collar hanging out, gold all over the place, slick back hair, big sunglasses, kind of looked like a Jewish Elvis Presley. and I didn't realize who it was at the time, but he looked me right in the eye, and he goes, "Great game, Villapiano." And I thank you, and I walked on. I never saw the guy again till, I saw him actually. I saw him again about a week later when the draft was only, let's say, I think a week after the Super Bowl back in those days. The draft was like late January. And then, after the Senior Bowl. So, and then as soon as the draft happened, the Raiders picked me. They had me on an airplane. So I go out to Oakland, and there's the guy with the red hair and the slick outfit. So I got to know my buddy, Mr. Davis, and it was. I'm glad he saw me with, it kind of looked like a Raider with one eye totally shut. So he liked the way I play, and and he became, and him and John Madden were my two favorite guys.
So interesting that Al's there. He gets to see you, excel in that game with one eye. You become a Raider. And if I remember correctly, you missed the first 3 weeks of Raiders camp that first year because of the college all-star game. So tell me, what's your first impression of walking into camp, trying to catch up and meeting Coach Madden for the very first time?
Well, yeah, it wasn't such a good thing because those guys were out there, and we're in Chicago getting ready to play the Baltimore Colts, all the college all-stars, and then you go in, and camp was ridiculously long in those days, so it was we had at least 4 weeks, 5 weeks before the first preseason game, and then you had 6 preseason games. So it was like 2 months of training camp. It was terrible. So anyway, I remember going in there, and because it was Jack Tatum and myself and Bob Moore, the 3 of us, we all made the college all-star team, and we come into camp. The veterans, let alone the coaches, they weren't no part of us because we were out having a pretty good time in Chicago, and you got the guys there going through 2-a-days. So I really didn't say too much to Coach Madden. He didn't say too much to me until I actually made the team. And then once you make the Raider team, then they start talking to you because back in those days they brought so many guys to camp. I mean, it was like, why waste my time talking to this guy? He's probably going to be gone tomorrow, So the guys came and went pretty quick. And but once I made the team, and John, he blessed me with the starting job, and I remember him telling Jack Tatum and myself, he goes, and Horace Jones, the 3 of us, 3 rookies starting for the Raiders. That's how bad the defense was the year before. And he goes, guys, for every rookie we start, we're going to lose a game. And so that means we're going to lose 3 games because we're starting you 3 guys. And I'm like, Coach, don't tell me that. I don't want to hear that. I want you to tell me we're going to win games because we got young guys and fast guys and, guys that can tackle. And so me, Jack, and Horace, we said, no way, man, we're going to play great. And we all did. So we actually had a very good defense for a lot of years.
It certainly did. And, here in New York, being a Jet fan and a Jet season ticket holder, I actually remember watching probably maybe your second or third game. And John turned you into a linebacker because at that point you had been a defensive lineman. You have an unbelievable exhibition game against the Jets. You recovered a John Riggins fumble. You had a hit on Emerson Boozer that, caused him to cough one up. And that's hard to do because Emerson didn't really cough him up a lot. It was later nullified because of an illegal formation. But after the game, Coach praised your work as a linebacker and said by the first game of the regular season, you'd be ready to play the position. What do you think he saw in you that made him switch you to linebacker? And how much his confidence helped you in that transition?
Well, I think I was 6'2", 225. And, in those days, we played a 4-man line, okay? So you had 4 big guys up there. And the linebackers had to be quicker because you had to cover running backs. So I think he put me at the right, they moved me immediately from defensive end, which, in college, I had the speed to get around the offensive lineman. And that was that's a real, it kind of like a Lawrence Taylor type thing. When you're so fast you can get upfield, it really destroys an offense. So who knew? I thought maybe they would keep me at the right to weak side defensive end and just fly upfield, But that really wasn't my job. My job was to be a linebacker. And then they gave me the number 41, and when they gave me 41, I said, what do they want me at safety, man? What is, I didn't know if the Raiders even knew, what they wanted of me when I first went there. And you don't ask any questions; you just do it, So they put me at the left linebacker, and it took a little while, but to answer your question a little better, I think what they liked is, even though I didn't know what I was doing, because I definitely didn't, I was making all kinds of tackles, and they needed somebody on the field that loved to make tackles, and that's where I came in. I I could go from sideline to sideline and tackle everybody. So, they had to get me on the field. So it was a crash course. My linebacker coach was a guy named Ray Malavasi. Him and I became best friends because he needed to get me ready to go. And luckily we did have 6 preseason games because that's a long time and I got a lot of play, even though, there were preseason games. I needed that. So anyway, it all worked out. And, my God, I'm glad they put me a linebacker, and I'm glad that, Ray Malavasi is my coach, and Madden was overlooking at me, and here we go. Then we started winning games.
It's interesting. You mentioned that the college Senior Bowl with the one eye kind of, exemplified the Raiders spirit with the one eye, but you fit that persona to a T. The Raiders embraced an identity as rebellious and above all hard hitting. You look at the collection of talent and personalities: Kenny the Snake Stabler, Fred Biletnikoff, Cliff Branch, Dave Casper, Gene Upshur, Art Shell, Matusek, Willie Brown, and you. In 10 years as the head coach of that group, the Madden's Raiders were in 7 AFC or AFL title games. They won a Super Bowl. The Raiders never had a losing season with him. He was the youngest coach in history to reach 100 victories. How important was it that John, was able to put his ego aside? Like he was never the guy that, epitomized the Raiders. He let you guys do all that. How important was it to let your persona grow and the players be the story to that team's identity?
Well, John was a master, psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever. He had a group of guys that, weren't the normal guys. Most every guy we got came from a trade. They were cut by somebody. They were all great players, but they just couldn't get along with other teams. So John had to be very careful, not too many rules, because that's what a lot of guys, especially at the pro level, man, let me play. I don't need to be overcoached. And you see these college coaches that go into the pros, and I don't know why they all fail. We're looking at Urban Meyer this year, and tons of those guys, they fail probably because they have too many rules. And with John, there wasn't too many rules. And also, if you remember correctly, I think John probably got as many 15-yard penalties as I did because he would go after those referees. And my God, I remember in Denver, we're playing in Denver, and here they're coming down the field, and, they beat us. If they score, they win. And, I think Madden got a 15-yarder back on their 20-yard line, which put him out to the 35. Then he gets another one that crossed the 50, but they running out of time, and then I intercepted, and Charlie Johnson threw it, and I never forget, I just fell right into it, intercepted it, and we're on the team bus, going to the airport, the old Denver airport, and Coach came up to me, and he looked at me, and he said, "Thanks for bailing me out." And I think that's probably the first thing he ever told me. And I looked up at him like, "What?" And he goes, "I got a boss too." But with the Raiders, as long as you win, we won the game. And that's the old Al Davis thing, just win, baby. As long as we won, nobody cared how you played. So Coach got himself 30 yards in penalties on one drive, but I was lucky enough to bail him out, and that was a good thing.
Speaking of, anything to do to win and just win, part of your identity was you were known for your can opener tackles, and there's an entire generation, actually there's probably 2 generations of football fans that are listening right now that have no clue what a can opener tackle is. Can you tell them what the term means, as well as, a little helper that you had on your arm that, you used back in the day?
Well, yeah, things were a little looser back in those days, and I remember we would go out and do warm-ups, and then we'd go back in, and the guys would have all their pads. And what I'm talking about, we used to, you would put this like a plastic material in the hot water, and then you would mold it to your arm. Okay, so what I did with my right arm, I molded this, so it's like plaster of Paris, and then you took this kind of rubberized tape and you put that around your arm. You put your pad on there, your plaster of Paris pad. Then you taped it, and it's a club. And then you would put a regular pad on it, so nobody could even see underneath the forearm pad that you had, but it was like a brick. And I used to call it the can opener because I would love to come from the side and just wrap that plaster of Paris right under the guy's jaw and then snap the head back. So I used to call it the rake. The rake was the first part, and if I got under that face mask, then I could can opener, snap it back, and it was a beautiful tackle. You didn't get many of them, but boy, when you got them, they felt good. And I remember Big Otis Sistrunk. He had a thing on his arm. He used to call it the Super Shock. And this, he had gigantic arms. And when he hit Bradshaw one time right under the jaw, Bradshaw was done for the day. So everybody back in those days had these crazy pads. And we had a guy named George Anderson that could make pads that people, he was so creative. I remember with Bob Brown, he would put this pad on his thumb. It was the same idea, but his thumb was now about 4 inches longer than it was, and he would take it and just smash you right in the ribs, and it was all plaster Paris. So he'd be hitting you with, it was just brutal. He could break ribs with that thing. So I remember L.C. Greenwood is lined up against Bob Brown, and Bob warned him that he was going to kill him. and he hit some shot him there. LC was he's on the field, and Bob looked at it. I told you so. That was a type of. Those are great players, great Raider players, and yeah, we kind of bent the rules, but so did everybody else. So that's the way it was in those days.
So early in your career, you're part of one of the most historic plays and controversial plays in NFL history, as you're the linebacker assigned to cover Franco Harris during the Immaculate Reception game, December 23rd, 1972. Walk me through that play, and more importantly, what was Coach Madden's reaction to the play?
Well, it was a crazy play. We got it down to, Kenny Stabler came in and relieved Earl LaMonica. Kenny had a couple really good passes to Mike Ciani, moved us down the field, and then he bootlegged, I think, from 20, 25 yards out into the end zone. Nobody was around them. They were all in coverage. And, so we take the lead 7-6, and they get the ball back with, a little over a minute left. And, we got it down to 4th down and 22 yards, 4th and 22. And they're down on their 20-yard line, and we get in the huddle, and I remember just yelling at no penalties, because we were very good at getting penalties, and so we no penalties, and then Bradshaw comes out, and we got 2 or 3 guys that are ready to sack them. They're holding on the line of scrimmage. Bradshaw, I don't even know if he saw Frenchie Fuqua. He just threw it down the field. And Jack Tater comes up and blasts Fuqua. Fuqua, shoulder hits the ball. I'm covering Franco. I'm right next to him. I saw the ball get thrown. I leave Franco because I'm going to go help with the tackle. And the ball bounces right back to Franco. I spun. I think I could have made the tackle. Their tight end dives in the back of my legs. I don't fall. If I fell, maybe I got a flag, but I didn't get the flag. We don't know if Franco trapped the ball. Franco can't remember anything. Frenchie Fuqua can't remember anything. Bradshaw keeps laughing. So we're never going to get to the bottom of what really happened. But it was a lot of fun, being in that game. But when it was all over with, I saw John going crazy on the sideline. I had no clue that he, if it went from offensive player to offensive player, back in those days, that was not allowed. So, it was penalty. They got to come back. The play comes back, and the game's over. So John is going crazy. And the referees, they all went and huddled up. Then somebody went in the end zone and came back out about 15. Oh, we're staying on the field 15 minutes. Meanwhile, the stadium's emptying out on the field. They could have never continued the game. And then, lo and behold, the one ref puts his hands up, touchdown, and it's over. So craziness, but that was the NFL, and I've been in the Sea of Hands games against Miami.
Yep.
I was in the Holy Roller down in San Diego. And those two plays went our way,
Right.
and the Immaculate Reception went the other way. So it was just the way it is, and that's pro football. You don't leave the sets too early, because anything can happen anymore.
Yeah, I've heard you tell the story maybe at one of the football dinners about that goal line stand against the Vikings in the Super Bowl, and you told us that you were yelling to the defense as everyone was lining up that you had them just where you wanted them. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you recall about that play and what transpired as you hit Brent McClanahan, causing him to fumble and change the momentum entirely in Super Bowl 11?
Well, it was, it was kind of a lucky play, but I just think a certain way, and they had this formation, and we studied it for the last couple of weeks, where they took out their wide receivers and they brought in two more offensive tackles. So what we did, we called it jumbo. And if we saw that, we would send in two more linebackers. And what I remember, Floyd Rice was the guy on my side. So Floyd pushes me down. I go down over one of their offensive tackles. And what we were going to do to counteract their big guys is we're going to beat them on speed. And we called it a jumbo pinch. So I'm over Ranieri. And, so he's used to playing against Shamatusak, okay? And, 6'8", 310 pounds. Here I'm at 225. And we hit him with speed, so we called it jumbo pinch. And as soon as Tarkenton, the ball was snapped, I was right across the area, and he never even touched me. And Tarkenton hands to McClanahan. I stuck my face right in there where the ball was. And I had a feeling, I could make him fumble. I hit him pretty hard, and I grabbed his arms. I never let him get the ball back. And luckily, Willie Hall jumped in there and picked it up. And yeah, that was a big game changer. We go down and score. So rather than them getting 7, we went down and got 7. And Katie barred the door. We beat them up the rest of the day. But that was a big play, and it was just one of those things where I did my homework. I knew if you only have 2 offensive plays from a formation, and I knew what we were calling, I thought we had them where we wanted them. And Jack Tatum actually came off the field and went over to Coach Madden and said, "Hey, you better go check out Fo. He's screaming, we got him where we want him down on the goal line." And Madden came over there and says, "Hey, you all right?" And I said, "Yeah, Coach, I'm fine. What's up?" And he goes, "Tate, you're saying you're screaming, we got him where we want him on the goal line." And I looked up at Coach and I said, "We did." And he laughed because he knew what I was talking about. And Coach knew exactly what I was talking about. We thought we were pretty good defense. And hey, you tell me what you're going to do, we're going to stop you. We're at least that good.
That little snapshot and his reaction and the way he approached you after that play is so telling about how he had the pulse of that team and just knowing when to say little things. In a game, the magnitude of the Super Bowl, to do that tells you so much. How much pride do you take knowing that hit, that fumble, is one of the biggest parts of that win, and it gave, Coach his only Super Bowl win in his career?
Well, that was it. It was wonderful. It's just, I did my part. That John and all the other coaches did their part getting us ready, and we're players, and and one of John's old things is players play and coaches coach and owners own, and know where you're at. So my job is to be a player. My job was to study like crazy. My job was to know, the weakness of an offense. My job was to make tackles. And all I was doing my job, and and John was doing his job. He had us prepared, and you put it all together. And when the coaches are coaching right, and the cheerleaders are cheering right, and the trainers are making good paths for you, and your coaches are telling you exactly what they're going to do, you're probably going to win the game. Because everybody on that football field is a pro, and they're all good. So unlike college, even though college is, you got like a Saban and his group, but I think they get the better players down like in Alabama. But in the pro level, they're all good. They come from everywhere. And what happens, coaching becomes huge. And, that's what I'm rooting for the Raiders. I mean, I want the defensive coordinator to take away, the runner for Indy. And you take away that runner, they gotta come. Then their coaches got to come back with something else. And the coaches, are manipulating the players. It's like a chess game, and it's really, really cool when and we knew this. We had Don Shinnick as our defensive coordinator, Bob Zeman. These two guys together came up with defensive game plans, and we knew we could stop people. And that's a great advantage, And, hey, I did my job. Coach Madden did his job, and we were happy with each other. And also, we got a Super Bowl ring out of it. So we were all really happy with each other.
So we alluded to it in the open about being Tom Hanks' favorite player. He paid homage to you in the movie, that thing that you do. There's a restaurant in there called Villapiano's, which is his tribute to you. What's that like to see your name in the movie, and how did that even come about?
Oh, that was crazy. And, I never knew it until my daughter, Andrea, she and Tom Hanks became, Facebook friends. And Tom came to, it's nuts. So anyway, we knew when the movie came out, but I knew from hearsay that Tom was from the Oakland area, and he lived right up in the Oakland Hills, and he was a huge Raiders fan. But I didn't know he was, he loved me. I was his guy. So anyway, he does the movie, and I think anybody that's listening, man, The Thing You Do is the name of the movie, and it's so cool. It's a great movie. Villapiano's is a pizza place, and the band plays in there, and it's so cool. And Tom sent my daughter a beautiful, and he collects typewriters. That's what he does. He's got a zillion typewriters, all old ones. So he typed up Andrea a nice message, and it said, "Your dad was my favorite player. I used to call him Phil via piano, via play a piano." So, that's when he was a young kid. So anyway, Tom, sends that to Andrea. Andrea, oh my God, it was so exciting. So, Tom Hanks is one of my favorite actors, and even before the Thing You Do, my God, Forrest Gump. Oh, I love that movie, and tons of others. Tom is my guy, and one of these days I want to meet him. So hopefully I get to go to a game. I do a little work for Caesars Palace, and I got a seat just for Tom when he's ready to come to Caesars and watch a game, or come to Vegas and watch a Raider game.
Awesome. All right. Lastly, your fondest memory of Coach Madden, and do you have a favorite John Madden story?
Well, I've just, there's a zillion Coach Madden stories, and fondest memories. I had so many of them. I remember probably one of the greatest things I think him and I connected on was, Miami was a pain in the butt. Miami went undefeated. Miami was very difficult to beat. And here they come to Oakland, and we got to beat them. And this is the playoff game. And it was back and forth the whole day. and Greasy and Kenny Stabler flips the ball into the end zone to Clarence Davis. Clarence, who can't catch a cold, catches that ball somehow or another. And now we got the lead, but they only need a field goal. So they start driving down the field. And I remember Don Shinnick, my linebacker coach, who was a great player for Baltimore. And he used to say, Fu, whenever you get to your zone, and you only have to be in that zone for a couple seconds, then you've done your job. If the ball's not coming, start moving. So I started moving. I got to my zone. I started moving towards the center of the field. And lo and behold, here comes Paul Warfield from the other side. And if he catches that ball, your premium knocks it in. If the game's over, we lose. I jump up. I catch it. I intercept it. I run off the field. And I knew how much John Madden wanted to beat Don Shula in the Dolphins. We were black, they were white. We were fighters, they were, it was really unfair the way the Raiders got treated sometimes. I knew Coach wanted to win that game so bad, so I intercepted it. I went over the sideline, I handed Coach the ball, and he went crazy. So Coach got the game ball. It made me feel like $1 million that I gave it to him. Made me feel like $1 million that we won the game. And then the next week we got beat by Pittsburgh. I hate them. But anyway, that was one of my most fun moments with Coach Madden. And I didn't have to say a word. I just handed him the ball. He deserved it more than any of us players because he put it all together.
Phil, thanks so much for spending time with us tonight and retelling some of the great stories about a great coach, a great ambassador for the game of football as well, John Madden, and talking about your great career. Love the Raiders here on Long Island. I don't know, they had a huge following here as well back in the day, and you were a big part of that. So thanks for coming on with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was really, really fun talking to you. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to everybody back east. And I am in Palm Desert, where I'm going to the golf course. I'm sorry, people back in Jersey.
Enjoy.
See you later.
The great Phil Villapiano, 4-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champ. We'll be back right after this.
The Phoenix Tube Company Incorporated is among the country's leading manufacturers of structural ornamental stainless steel tubing, rectangles, squares, and processed flat bars. The company takes pride in its everyday commitment to quality and customer service. The philosophy of the company has been and continues to be to support the growth of the stainless tube market through distribution and service centers throughout the country. Ornamental and structural stainless steel tubing is used for a wide variety of aesthetic and mechanical products where superior finish and corrosion resistance are required. Some products manufactured include tubing for mirror bracket arms, boat rails and ladders, washroom grab bars, swimming pool rail products, medical equipment, automotive step bars and trimming, as well as structural framing for food processing equipment. For a quote or for more information on how the Phoenix Tube Company can meet your ornamental and structural stainless steel tubing needs, visit them on the web at phoenixtube.com or call them toll-free at 1-800-526-2124.
If you're a company looking to increase your visibility, to make sure your promotional materials get packaged in the most attractive way and distributed most efficiently, then you need to call in PIMS. Whether you're launching a new product and need to assemble customized influencer packages or looking for a more efficient way to manage your inventory and collateral, PIMS involvement helps maximize the impact of your brand's performance. For more than 30 years, PIMS has been helping companies get their message out to the right people, offering personalized distribution services and full-scale inventory management solutions. PIMS works its magic on 3 continents, backed by 350,000 square feet of warehouse space. If you're looking for experience, PIMS is it. They've shipped more than 13 million packages and elevated more than 8,000 brands. Want to know more? Check them out on the web, PIMSinc.com. That's PIMSinc.com, and read testimonials from their satisfied clients. That's PIMS, the first name in marketing support. And welcome back to Sports Talk New York on this anniversary special 2-hour crossover event. BT Talks Baseball, Sports Talk New York, all together one place. It's time now for the NHL Report with Russ Cohen, sponsored by our friends over at Soho Table Hockey. What's table hockey, you say? Oh, we miss AJ because he always says.
What's table hockey, Mark?
There you go. You sounded just like AJ. Some of us might have grown up with rod hockey, bubble hockey, or even air hockey tables. So table hockey is embracing the nostalgia of those old tabletop games, designed a whole new board for the future, handcrafted with designer wood, state-of-the-art playing surface, unbendable rods, and energy-absorbing walls. This is a table hockey game that players age 8 to Arnie's age can enjoy. Even better, the exceptional quality of design allows the game to stand up to the intensity of tournaments, which is why Soho Table Hockey is the #1 choice of championship players throughout North America. Visit SohoTableHockey.com. Learn more. Start your order on a custom game. You can choose your wood, a centerized logo, even the team matchups. Go ahead, drop the puck. You'll love Soho Table Hockey so much you won't be able to stop playing. Welcome, Russ, and this is a great weekend to speak to you because you are the master of the Winter Classic. Real quick, did you enjoy this year's version?
I did. I thought the broadcast was good. I thought the panel wasn't good. They didn't ask Bettman anything hard. I mean, we learned nothing, and that's there's usually a press conference, as you know, at Winter Classic for about 15 minutes with Bettman and the media, and I don't know if that happened this year. Doesn't seem like it did because we didn't get any information.
No. Nope.
And so I felt like this was TNT's chance to actually show us that they can be more like Canada and someone like Ron McLean and get something done, and they got nothing done.
Agreed. I totally agree. And they didn't even have like the webinar where we all had access. But what we're doing with all our beat guys today is we're asking them for their best moment for each of the local teams. So let's start with the New Jersey Devils. For you, what was the big story of the year for the Devils?
I'm going to say the Jack Hughes 3-point night where he beat the Oilers in overtime with one of his goals. And that was just about a week ago.
Yeah.
I feel like Hughes started off great. Then he had an injury issue, and then, he's out for a while. Came back. He's come back hot, and I do feel like this is a year of growth for him. So I feel like if the Devils are going to be a really good team in the future, this probably helped him ride the wave. He had another 3-point night recently, so I feel like this was a big game for him.
For me, it's the addition of Dougie Hamilton and maybe the I don't even know what the best way to describe it, but to play a PK Subban and just what's happened to his game. Those are two pretty important stories for me, but I agree the Hughes game was a big moment. All right, let's move over to the New York Islanders.
You don't think I have any Devils moments?
Oh, I was going to come back to you for all three.
No, it's okay. I have no Devils moments.
Oh, really?
Well, the last Devils game I saw, Marty Brodeur was still in goal.
There you go. Wow. All right, let's go with the New York Islanders, and then we'll go to Brett for that. Go ahead. Your Islander moment for the year.
It's probably not going to be one that Islander fans would choose because they eventually lost the game. But I'm going to go with Oliver Wahlstrom getting 2 goals, 2 power play goals against the Red Wings, helped tie that game, put them into overtime. They were still on their 10-game losing streak at that point, but Wahlstrom's been pretty hot since, and he's put up some points. And if they're going to get any kind of offense from players, Wahlstrom's going to be one of those guys for them.
For me, the Islander story for this calendar year, in just one word, COVID, and just the stops, the starts, the cancellations, the rescheduling, just the uneven pace of the season and schedule for them. That's for me the story. Brett, for you?
Yeah, listen, as somebody who worked for the Islanders in the past and grew up as an Islanders fan going to the Nassau Coliseum, I'm just really excited that they have this brand new building that I have not gotten to yet, but everybody is loving it. Yes, and COVID would have been my top story, but at some point, hopefully, COVID will go away and this UBS Arena will be around for many, many years. And I think the Islanders fans have deserved the state-of-the-art place to go watch games for a long time, and they finally have it.
That's a great call, but because of the COVID, it becomes secondary because right now, I mean, they're starting to play well, and the season stops. It's just no flow to it, and the energy there hasn't happened yet because there's just no consistency.
And that's why I didn't choose it because I don't feel like it's had its best moment.
Agreed.
Correct.
Lastly, the New York Rangers top story of this year for you.
Yeah, I'm going to go December 3rd game when Igor Shesterkin gets hurt. He comes out of the game. Georgiev comes in the game, who had been playing really like hot garbage, and helped get a dual shutout against the Sharks. The Sharks were hot. They were on a win streak. And this sort of helped propel Georgiev back into this season, which I think is important for the Rangers if they're going to make a run this year.
For me, the story this year for them, twofold, maybe the pivot from the rebuild to thinking they're ready now, trade of Buchnevich, and today's game. Today's game was one of those statement games, and I thought it was their best game of the season. Well, I can't use it. That's right. We're already in the new year, so scratch that one. So, yeah, the pivot from the rebuild.
Cheater.
Yeah, exactly. Brett, for you?
I don't have a Rangers moment except for that I remember being on the Long Island Railroad right before the season started, and there was these two Ranger fans talking to each other, and one was saying, listen, I don't care what they're saying. The Rangers are going to be really good this year. And I remember sitting in my seat going, this guy is so wrong. And he was right. I mean, the Rangers have really overachieved. When was the last time? Obviously the Islanders overachieved a couple of years ago, but they're going in the right direction. And this is a great thing when hockey is on a high in New York.
And we get to talk about it each and every week with Russ Cohn. Russ, thanks so much. Happy New Year. We'll speak to you next week. Russ
Happy
Cohn.
New Year too. See you guys. See you, bro.
You got it. With the Soho Table Hockey Report. We'll take a quick break and we'll round it out with football and basketball right after this.
Decolator Cohen and DePrisco, LLP, is pleased to introduce their website, policeofficersrighttosue.com, as an educational and informative site designed to instruct members of the law enforcement community of their civil rights in line of duty accidents. Many law enforcement members are not aware of their rights to sue and fail to bring lawsuits within a specific time frame, thereby forfeiting their ability to seek rightful compensation against those parties that cause officers to be injured. PoliceofficersRightToSue.com provides successful past results of line of duty lawsuits. These examples range from officers being provided with inadequate equipment, RMP accidents, slip and falls, and station house mishaps. If any law enforcement member has a question regarding a potential lawsuit, they can contact DCD at policeofficersrighttosue.com or at 1-800-901-1LAW. That's policeofficersrighttosue.com or 1-800-901-1LAW.
And welcome back to the home stretch of Sports Talk New York on this anniversary special. Real quick, Ian, we got about a minute. We're going to you for the top moments in Knicks and Nets for the year 2021. What do you got for us?
I mean, the Knicks' top moment has to be making it to number 4, the top seed, finally clinching a playoff berth. That clinching win is easily the highlight of the Knicks' past decade. For the Nets, top storyline has to be the James Harden trade. Kevin Durant's foot on the three-point line was a heartbreaking one. James Harden coming to the Nets and forming a new big three is unquestionably the story of the year in the New York metro area in the NBA.
Awesome, Kyle, and we look forward to sharing the big stories each and every week with you for the 2022 season. Kyle Talbot here each and every week with the NBA Report. We're going to quickly, as soon as Mike can get him on the phone, speak to Jay Retcher, who had a 50-50 day. He's a big Tampa Bay Lightning fan. They lost to the New York Rangers, and it looked like that basically what was going to happen was that his Tampa Bay Buccaneers and his favorite player, Tom Brady, were going to lose, but they didn't. So we'll go to Jay real quick. Hey, Jay, we were just saying how it was a 50-50 day for you. Tampa Bay Lightning lose to the Rangers, and it looked like, I knew when they didn't go for the field goal that you were going to be happy with that game. But real quick, the top two stories here in New York for the New York Jets and the New York Giants. What were your big stories for the calendar year 2021 for those two teams?
Well, to me, I just think it kind of goes in both directions. One going up. I really like what I saw from the Jets today. I don't care about how the ending went. To me, I saw a lot of good things from the offense. I think the defense, it's hard to be able to hold a team like the Buccaneers down without a whole bunch of playmakers on there, but I thought they did a good job. The Giants, I feel like we had the same conversation this time last year. More questions than answers, fellas. They need to really kind of shuffle the deck here and figure out what they're doing going forward, because I really feel like the Jets are in a much better spot than the Giants are.
Awesome, Jay. And the only thing, before we went on air today, we said the only thing that would have been more Jets in that loss would have been if Antonio Brown came back out of the locker room, put his pads back on, and caught the winning touchdown. So, all right, Jay, we will look forward to talking lots of football and the playoffs coming up with you in the coming year. So we'll speak to you next week. Happy New Year.
Sounds good, buddy. Thank you.
You got it, Jay Retcher. And that puts a wrap on the first hour of the crossover special. So I don't remember which aired first. It was Batman that aired first, and then the crossover was with the Green Hornet second. So,
okay. That sounds good. Well, listen, I was going to say we should do this again real soon when 30 seconds is pretty soon.
Sounds good. All right. We'll see you on the other side of the top of the hour, everybody.